Ecclesiastes 5:18 through 20, God's antidote to anxiety. One of the most overlooked passages on anxiety isn't found in Proverbs or even in the Gospels. It's found in Ecclesiastes. After spending 5 chapters explaining that chasing success, wealth, pleasure, wisdom, and control ultimately leaves us empty, Solomon arrives at a surprising conclusion. He writes, Behold, what I have seen to be good and fitting is to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil with which one toils under the sun the few days of his life that God has given him. For this is his lot. Everyone also to whom God has given wealth and possessions and power to enjoy them and to accept his lot and rejoice in his toil. This is the gift of God. For he will not much remember the days of his life because God keeps him occupied with joy in his heart. So if I asked you what causes anxiety, you might answer, well, fear, uncertainty, trauma, or stress. Those all play a role. But Solomon reveals a whole other layer. Much of our anxiety comes from trying to carry responsibilities God never asked us to carry. Throughout Ecclesiastes, Solomon pursued everything the world promises will satisfy. He pursued more money, more achievement, more pleasure, more knowledge, more success. Yet, every pursuit led him back to the very same realization he could not control tomorrow. So instead of giving us another strategy for gaining control, Solomon gives us an invitation to surrender it. Instead of obsessing over tomorrow, enjoy today's meal. Instead of worrying about what you don't have, be faithful with today's work. Instead of trying to control your future, receive today's blessings as a gift from God. And I know that sounds almost too simple, but simplicity is often where obedience lives. Notice what Solomon calls these ordinary things. He calls them the gift of God, not something that you've earned, not something that you have secured through hard work, but it's a gift from God. So, anxiety often begins when we stop receiving life as a gift and start demanding guarantees. But God never promised us guarantees, He promised us His presence. Verse 19, well, it contains another remarkable truth. God doesn't only give wealth or possessions, He gives the ability to enjoy them. Think about that. There are people with enormous wealth who never experience peace. People who finally obtain everything they wanted, yet still lie awake at night. Enjoyment itself is a gift from God. For someone studying anxiety, this is incredibly significant. Anxiety has a way of pulling us away from the responsibilities and blessings God has placed right in front of us, and it keeps us replaying yesterday's regrets or rehearsing tomorrow's fears, while today's gifts go unnoticed. It steals our attention from the work that God has given us today. That people are sitting at our table that we love. There's a meal in front of us, and the grace available from this very moment. Solomon reminds us that peace isn't found by controlling the future. It is found by faithfully receiving the present as a gift from God. Then Solomon says something really fascinating. He will not much remember the days of his life because God keeps him occupied with joy in his heart. That doesn't mean we ignore reality or pretend that suffering doesn't exist. It means our minds are no longer consumed by the past or held hostage by the future. Why? Because they are occupied with God's goodness in the present. The anxious heart is occupied with what if? The peaceful heart is occupied with look what God has already given. Anxiety loves, boy, for real, loves three places: yesterday, tomorrow, and comparison. Joy almost always lives in the present. That, again, doesn't mean pretending problems don't exist. It just simply means, well, refusing to let tomorrow steal today's grace. Jesus taught the same principle hundreds of years later when he said, "Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble." Matthew 6:34. Solomon and Jesus are teaching the very same truth. God's peace is experienced in the present. Anxiety is usually lived in a time God hasn't asked us to carry. Think about how different your day would look if you viewed every ordinary blessing as a gift from God. I don't know, your morning coffee, your family sitting around the dinner table, the work He's entrusted to you today. Or what about just a simple conversation with a friend, a quiet sunset, better yet, your next breath? These aren't distractions from real life. These are reminders that God is still providing. So, what does obedience look like? Sometimes it looks surprisingly ordinary. Closing the laptop, putting down the phone, um, eating dinner without rushing, keeping the Sabbath, giving thanks before your meal, finishing today's work without borrowing tomorrow's burdens. How about just receiving instead of striving? Every one of those ordinary acts becomes an act of worship because they declare something profound. God, I trust you with tomorrow. The cure for anxiety isn't found in knowing the future. Honestly, it's just found in receiving today's gifts from the one who already holds the future. Because when your heart is occupied with gratitude, there is far less room for fear. Peace begins when we stop trying to control tomorrow and start receiving today as God's gift.